Welcome back to Civics for the Culture, and we've got some tea for y'all today.
But wait, if you didn't catch our first episode, be sure to check out the link below and don't forget to follow us at Fair Fight Action to stay updated.
Okay, now back to the tea.
In 2022, we had one of our most fundamental freedoms stripped away, the constitutional right to an abortion. But how did that happen and why? Like we said last episode, it's all about power and control.
In order to understand how we got here, first, we need to roll back the clock.
While so-called democracy has existed in the United States for hundreds of years, the reality is that our country only became a true democracy in recent decades. And this shouldn't be surprising, seeing as our country was founded on the premise that only white landowning men should have a say when it comes to electing leaders.
Long story short, our country knows a thing or two about double standards when it comes to equality.
While the 15th and 19th Amendments technically granted the right to vote to Black people and women, we know that there's a big difference between what's on paper versus reality, especially when the people who are supposed to enforce these protections were white men.
Even with the constitutional right to vote, the reality is that for the majority of our country's history, women and people of color have always been second-class citizens. The 1960s marked a new chapter in U.S. history, with the rise of the civil rights movement ushering in massive and long overdue change, particularly when it came to ending segregation and establishing our fundamental freedom to vote.
But as you can imagine, some folks were not happy about this. Powerful white men who used to support segregation realized that in order to hold on to control, they need to pivot hard, which is why that true democracy I mentioned is facing serious threats today.
By the time the 1970s rolled around, women were making a real headway on securing the Equal Rights Amendment, which would guarantee equal rights for all citizens, regardless of sex. And of course, in 1973, the Supreme Court ruling on Roe established the constitutional right to an abortion.
So by this point, the men's had had enough. And in 1976, they doubled down big time.
How? By weaponizing reproductive rights for their own personal and political gain.
Case in point, the Hyde Amendment, a federal law passed by Congress in 1976 that banned federal funds to pay for abortion care, with very few exceptions.
The Hyde Amendment marked the beginning of their long game to manufacture opposition to abortion in an attempt to keep political power. And it quickly evolved into a nationwide campaign to attack reproductive rights for all.
But the Hyde Amendment didn't end abortion care. It just made it harder to access for the people who were already facing systemic racism and economic injustice. And it further stigmatized the idea that all people, regardless of race, income, zip code, should have access to the care that they need.
Like we said, at the end of the day, it's all about control, just like the attacks on our freedom to vote. It's about one group of people trying to maintain power, period.
So listen, we have to fight to reclaim our right to make our own choices for our bodies and our futures. We have to fight for reproductive justice, and we can't give in to despair.
The good news, the fight continues, and we ain't giving up. Not with this much on the line.
One way folks are fighting back is through abortion funds, which is set up by grassroots organizations working at the intersection of racial, economic, and reproductive justice. In short, these funds help make access to abortion care affordable to all who need it. So here's our assignment for you.
Support your local abortion fund. Check out the National Network of Abortion Funds to find a fund that serves your community. And then tune back in for our next episode. See y'all next time.